Hello, welcome to this new episode of the Alex Show TV. And as you can see, I have a guest, and I have the pleasure and honor to have Mike Martin from the US. Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Mike. I saw Mike on the Jeff Mara podcast on a great show, and I'm going to include the link actually in the show notes just as a thank you to Jeff for letting me know more about Mike. And I'm interested in everything you spoke there, Mike. Can you start with how this started for you, this astral traveling? I understand it started when you were young, and how you ended up figuring how to go consciously, very important, as you said, very important, consciously to the astral, kind of manipulate everything that we access there through dreams, which I said many times on my show. Dreaming, sleeping is so important. We go somewhere else. We disconnect from this reality, and the key is doing it consciously, as you well say. So can you start with that, Mike? Thank you.
Sure. When I was a little kid, probably from the time that I can remember, maybe around 4 or 5, I would have these episodes, and I didn't understand what they were. I'd be laying in bed, and maybe when I was sick or something, and during the day, and then I would be staring at the ceiling, and the next thing you know, I'm within inches of the ceiling, and it just really was just kind of frightening. You didn't know what it was. There were things of that nature would happen. And I had a lot of dreams that they seemed more real than they seemed like a dream. A lot of them were me being abducted. So I didn't know. I mean, for me, it was just like another nightmare, and they got to the point where they were terrifying, really terrifying. I mean, to the point where I remember them vividly now. So I just did my best to kind of put that into my back memory and just kind of forgot about it. I think I stopped having those episodes about, I don't know, maybe it was like 8 or 9. I stopped having them. And so when I got older in my 20s, I happened to see, I was interested in the paranormal, and there wasn't a lot of, when you go to the library back then, this is in like the early 80s, there wasn't a large selection of paranormal and that sort of thing. And if there was, any of the good books at the library were already checked out, and they had a waiting list at least a year long. So you really didn't have much of a selection. So your only option was like bookstores. And a lot of regular bookstores didn't really carry a lot of stuff that was really, paranormal, not in the smaller towns that I lived in. So I moved to Phoenix, and then I was exposed to a lot more bookstores and stuff. And I happened to see a Time Life commercial about Mysteries of the Unknown series. They're going to have these books. So I ordered them online, and every other month you get a book, and it has a bunch of different subjects about paranormal stuff. So I got it. And one of the first couple that I received had the astral projection or out-of-body experiences in it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I want to try this. As soon as I read it, I was immediately like floored. I love this. I got to try it. So one of the books that they referenced in that small introduction was Robert Monroe and his book Journeys Out of the Body, which was, I think, the one at the time that had just been out for a while. So I got the book and I read through it like a couple times. And so I tried a couple of the techniques, and I don't remember if this is the technique that he referenced, but I tried a bunch of other techniques, and the only one that I found that really worked for me was the fact that you have to realize you're dreaming, which is called the lucid dream. And that would be your gateway into astral projection. So what I did was I began asking myself, as I had read, I began asking myself many times during the day. I set my alarm on my watch, if I'm awake, if I'm dreaming or not. And I would look at a solid object like a car or a chair or something, and I turn away and I look back at it again real quick. If nothing had changed, then I knew I wasn't dreaming, because in the dream state, you turn your head and turn and look at something second time, it will have changed. So I had been recording my dreams for a number of years prior to this. I wanted to see if my dreams correlated with anything in my life. So I was used to being aware of my dreams and recording them. So like every morning I would wake up and I'd have a list of dreams to record, or I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a flashlight and write them down. So I was good at remembering dreams, so this made it a little bit easier. So here I am asking myself, probably 30 or more times during the day, I would set my watch, the alarm would go off, and eventually I would just start doing it automatically. So it became autonomous after the first couple of weeks. I would just constantly ask myself, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And then, what I was doing is I was setting my consciousness up to question my reality. And that's the whole premise behind what this whole exercise was about. So I'm doing this all the time, yet at no time during the night am I becoming lucid or realizing I'm dreaming. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm still writing my dreams down. I'm still recording everything, and I'm still trying. It took me a matter of about 11 months before I became successful in becoming awake or lucid within the dream. It wasn't necessarily that I asked myself, am I dreaming? But as soon as my consciousness realized there was something in the dream that wasn't right, because I'd been questioning my reality all the time, it triggered me to awaken within the dream. So all of a sudden, I notice something's not right. Boom, I'm awake in the dream. And immediately, I think to myself, this is what I said to myself, I want to have an out-of-body experience. As soon as I finished that, I was whisked out of the dream on the side of my house in the astral. I'm floating above the side of my house. It's in December. It's cold outside. I can feel that it's cold, but I'm not cold. I can also feel myself in bed, warm in bed. So my physical body is in bed. My astral body is on the side of my house. So I know I'm in two places simultaneously at that point. So there's no question. From the time that I realized I was dreaming till the time that I ended up in the astral was like a moment. And from that point on until I returned, I was conscious, fully conscious, just like I am now. So there's no question. So I'm in there, I'm floating. And then I realized that my peripheral vision is almost 360 degrees. It's super wide, so I can see way more than I would in my physical. And at that point, I'm just trying to verify some things like, how do I feel? How do I think? Well, how do I see? What's happening? I just want to know what the differences are. And I wanted to make, just a mental note of everything that I could think of to kind of test myself. I couldn't move my physical body. And so this lasted maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say because there is no time frame in the astral. Time only exists within the physical realm. When you're in a state of this nature, you don't know, because that what a couple moments you could think could be hours or minutes in this situation. So when I returned, I was whisked back into my body. And at no time did I lose consciousness within this whole time. And I wake up and I write everything down in my dream journal. And I was so excited that I was finally successful in a controlled out-of-body experience. Not long after that, I quickly realized that given the fact that I experienced that, I knew as a child, that's what I was having, but they were uncontrolled. And I didn't have a definition for them because this was back in the 70s. I didn't know what it was. So now I could correlate that's what was happening to me in the past. So months later, I kept trying, and I'm not lucid within a dream. The very next time, a couple of months later, because I'm just trying every night. I just don't give up. For me, I'm just the type of person, if I want something bad enough, I'm just going to keep hammering at it. And if whatever roadblock comes through, then I'm probably just going to punch through it because I just don't give up. So the very next time I became lucid within a dream, I'm awake. And before I even get the chance to think to myself that I want to have an out-of-body experience, I'm taken out of the dream and back in bed. So I'm laying on my left side in bed with my eyes still closed, but I'm not in the astral because I can move my hands. I can feel myself. So I know I'm in the physical, yet my eyes are still closed, just out of the dream state. At this point, the darkness that you see with your eyes closed is what I see. But within that darkness, there's an oval shape, a big oval shape. So if you're seeing through the third eye, your peripheral vision is huge versus just your eyes closed. This was a third eye view in the physical with my eyes closed. So the peripheral vision was huge. And this large portal, which is it almost looked like an oval that had punched through the darkness that we see in the background. It punched through it, and it was an image. It looked like a video screen, an oval video screen of a town by the water. And I could see the water moving, so I knew it was a live image. And it looked like it was down at maybe a 45-degree angle from maybe 100 feet in the air, looking down on the village. And around that was an oval-shaped border that was the same shape as the now what I know is a portal. And within that was like a colorful the border was in a color, kind of like a light purple or pink. And within that was black symbols. I call them symbols because I don't recognize them as letters because I don't know what they are. They were a combination of, I'd say, Celtic, three-dimensional, and maybe hieroglyphics because I have nothing else to compare them to. So I guess it was a description of whatever that was. But I didn't put a lot of thought into that because I'm trying to figure out what this is. Where am I at? I'm actually in the physical. I'm seeing this live image. What does it mean? What is this? And so it lasted 30 to 40 seconds. And then it pixelated and then went away. Kind of like turning a TV screen off. It went away. I woke up and I wrote my description down in my dream log and I entitled it A Viewing because I didn't know what it was. I had never experienced or heard of that experience. So from then on, every time, and this is probably at that time, maybe after that, maybe like once a month it started, I would become lucid within a dream. And before I even had the ability to really realize that I was lucid, I would become lucid and boom, I'm out of the dream, back in bed again, and I'm seeing another portal image. This time it might be from something that looked like maybe a desert landscaping or a forest, and then different things would just kind of pop up. At first, the first two or three were in the oval shape. Then eventually they took up my whole peripheral vision, which is almost 360 degrees. So it's almost like I'm looking at these portals, and I would say it was about this far from my face, what it felt like. So I'm really in the image. It's not like you're just looking at a TV. You've got your face right there. So I'm being shown these different landscapes and no descriptions, no explanations, nothing. So eventually I started having them more often. And then I started to realize how I could trigger my lucid dreaming a little bit better, or given the chances. I tried a number of things like putting a pyramid under my bed, just a little cardboard pyramid. And that increased my chances over time, and thinking a certain way when I went to bed, and just different things that I practiced to try to see if that would increase my chances of realizing I was dreaming. And as I did, if I had more than one in a week, I would realize the first one would be like a 4K quality of visual, and it would be maybe 30 to 40 seconds long. But the second one, if I had it within a couple days of that, would be maybe like 1080 quality, and it would last maybe half the amount of time. So every time I would have one within a couple days time frame, they would basically cut the video quality in half and cut the duration in half. What I also noticed is the reason why that was happening is because every time that I experienced these, it required a certain amount of energy from myself. So you can only sustain or store enough energy for certain times, because I wasn't originally creating these portals because I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have the energy in order to open these, because it takes energy to open them, it takes energy to sustain their use. So I knew that I wasn't doing it, but I did realize over time that as the portals began to extract some of my energy, then I could kind of feel it. And as my energy depleted, not to the point where I felt bad or anything, but it would start to pixelate and then it would just disappear. So it was kind of a warning, like, okay, I'll let you know that these are going to close before you lose enough energy so that you can't sustain them. So sometimes I'll show up and maybe like it looked like a castle. And anytime people were involved within my visual spectrum in the portals, they would generally have their heads covered because they knew I was there, which later I would discover that the amount of visual range that I see from my end of a portal, if there was somebody on the other end, they see that same amount of opening range on my end. So you can't hide from what's happening on the portal. If somebody's on the other side, they're going to see you the same. So they knew I was there. So over time, I had the ability to see through the eyes of other people, which I didn't understand for many years because I didn't understand why my perspective was in certain ways. until I finally got more exposure to it and then realized I'm seeing through the eyes of people. Maybe somebody who had dementia that was sitting in the same living room for many, many times, I would end up in there and I would not understand why there was, it was just nothing's happening because I was seeing through their eyes. And so after probably maybe 15 years of having these, now I could have maybe 3 in a week and then maybe not have one for a month or maybe a couple weeks or something. They're just very haphazardly occurring kind of when I became lucid. But as I started having them, the lucid dreams began to my lucidity within the dream began to get more frequent, almost like it was inducing me to have more. It was allowing me to have more by helping me out. I don't know how, because the source that began them never gave me any information other than sometimes I would receive written information through the portals, but there was something that I didn't understand.
Wow, that is an amazing story. And if you don't mind, Mike, I'm gonna share a little bit of mine. How's very similar to yours. For me, I think it's very important when we're children that we don't have the mental blockages that when we mature as adults and all the programming that is going on in this world. So for me, it started as well as a child, and I did have that experience of watching myself. For me, what happened is I immediately became afraid and went back. I don't know if it happened to you or you were able to travel in the astral. When you watch your body, you are disconnected. So if you were able to realize it and be okay with it, then you can go outside of this world or whatever you like. For me, on those couple of experiences, I went directly back. But then I started having these kind of lucid dreams that I will see my house, the roof of my house, and then I suddenly see my city, which was Mexico City at the time. And I will see, especially there was a university very, very close to my neighborhood. I will see it perfectly, okay, from like if I was a drone or flying out. And then suddenly I will be in space. And I don't know how you feel about that, by the way, if you something that you attach to. I know some people believe there's no outer space, there's nothing out there. For me, it happened that apparently I met, let's call it a stellar family, okay? And they told me telepathically, by the way, it was no English, Spanish, nothing. It was not a human language. We just knew stuff. They will speak to me. They was not really speaking, and I will understand it. So I said, hey, I wanna learn about the universe. I'm always been an astronomy. I don't know. I'm very fascinated about the outer space, outer universe. So they took me outside. They took me to places. They took me inside planets. For them, it was trivial. For me, it was amazing. But for them, it was like, wow, I don't know how he's amazed. And the message was, come back. We're your family. We want you to come back. You're here on Earth. You're, I don't want to say it, trapped here in a way, but hopefully you'll find your way back. Okay. This is kind of a glimpse. Okay. So that for me started, I believe, same as you, this search, looking at UFOs and aliens and all this, and how this reality is not what we see with our eyes. Okay, that as a child happened to me as well. That I just knew there was a veil somewhere, there was another dimension out there that we didn't understand, we didn't see. But then the experiences stopped around 8-9 years as well. For some reason, they stopped those experiences I'm sharing with outer space and that. But in a way, the concept that through dreaming, we access something else stayed with me. So fast forwarding a lot of years, adolescence, I went away from it. I became very human, very attached to this reality that, hey, let's have fun. I went to college, all that kind of stuff. So I went away from it in a way. I became a normal human being, I guess. But then it came back to me eventually. We don't detach from this idea, okay, that there's something going on in this reality we don't understand. And especially we are somehow trapped here, even if we don't understand it. And that most people don't see it because they clear our memories consciously, they leave it in the unconscious. That's impossible to mess with. But they consciously, we don't understand what we are. We don't understand who we are, where we come from, and we're here for some reason. And I think that's the key. That's what we all want to understand. How are we able to break this spell, this kind of, I don't want to call it prison, but this reality we're trapped in. So I also ask, as you, again, your experience is way more advanced than mine, but I also ask, before dreaming, first of all, I want to remember my dreams. I want to understand my dreams. And for me, it has happened as well. You know what's funny? When you mention someone in the dream is saying something and I'm saying, wait. This is a deception. This is a dream. And they get afraid, like, hey, he's understanding that we're deceiving him, that we're programming him, and he's understanding. So they don't like that. And but for me, the realization that you're in a dream, you become extremely powerful, at least to understand. And before I send it back to you, I just want to share a little dream I had. It was probably in my 20s. Very deep. It was a lucid dream, by the way, but as you shared, I was in a maze, and I will solve the maze, but then I will be in another maze. And so it felt like forever, honestly. And by the way, it was one time, now that you mentioned time, I believe the experience of time is so different in the astral or in the sleep state than here in this reality. I woke up that time like 5:30 in the morning, and I had that dream, and it felt like years, to be honest with you. And I woke up 6:15. So 45 real minutes went on, but honestly felt it was very stressing. I will solve maze after maze after maze. And at the end, this being came to me and said, doesn't matter how hard you try, you're never gonna get out. I said, what? Yes, you are trapped here forever. Okay, please accept it. I know you wanna get out. I know you wanna solve this, but you are not gonna be able to do it. Okay, you are here with us forever. And I was like, no, I don't accept that. And he was surprised on my reaction of he doesn't get it. He's a hard one. He's not going to accept it. And that moment, by the way, was the moment I woke up. But for me, that was the matrix. Okay, that was the concept that for us to break this control mechanism is hard, and it's something similar to what you're doing. It's a lifelong exercise or effort. Because I've been asked, I've been emailed, hey, I believe in your story in reincarnation. What should I do? Should I go to the light? Should I avoid the light? I always say, follow your heart. Go inside. I cannot give you the answer because the answer is different for everyone. You have to figure it out on your own. I cannot give it to you. I wish I can give it to you, but I cannot give it to you. And for me, the only possible solution was with that dream was having a clean slate. Because if you're upset, if you want to fight it, I don't think it's going to work. If you go there and you truly say, hey, I'm out of here, I think they allow us out. But if you go there and you want to challenge it, and I don't think it works. And we're here for another round and another round and more rounds. So it comes my next question. What is this reality? I mean, how this very deep concept that we're in a matrix, that we are somehow trapped in this world that is kind of a prison, and how do we break? How do we exit the prison?
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit, and then I'm going to answer the question.
Okay.
Like your childhood experiences were 180 degrees from mine, and I think one of the reasons why I kind of put it in the background is because every time that, if I wasn't just experiencing it by floating above my bed, I was experiencing it in the dream state, but it was a nightmarish experience every time. So, you had maybe guides that would lead you around and show you in space. I had abductors or things that were chasing me, threatening me. And it was always that way. So every time that I'd experience one of those, it was in some kind of a threatening manner. And as a child, that's the last thing you want to experience. That right there is pushing you away from it. So when I became older, I didn't really remember that because I wasn't correlating that with what I was experiencing. So then at that point, when I realized it, my wife said, well, it doesn't make you afraid. I'm like, no. Now I understand it much better, a different level of understanding what's going on. So no, I don't fear it. But I think one thing people should know before you even try anything of this nature is you need to have a strong moral compass. That's very important. If you're going to do anything outside of yourself or spiritually, you need to be very you need to have a very strong foundation. This is my line in the sand, and I'm not moving past that. I mean, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do anything against my morals. And I understand. And the other thing you need to do is question every single thing. Don't take everything at face value, anything at face value, because that you wouldn't believe somebody on the street. Don't believe anybody there. So as I'm experiencing all these, portal experiences, I've got a new family. I've got children. I've got a job. I'm in my 20s. I go on with life. This is cool in the background, but I don't really see a purpose behind it because I don't understand it. So maybe about 15 years ago, I'm doing a long commute from work and back every day. And I realized at some point during that drive, as I'm daydreaming on a constant basis, that there's something behind the daydream state. There's got to be something going on there. And about that same time, the portal started to slow down. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be something going on with this. I got to figure it out. Then one time I realized when I came out of a dream, I'm like, usually this is when a portal will start, but it's not. Let me try to begin one. And I was able to create one on my own. And I go, okay. What I did was I recreated in the same state, the same feeling that I was getting when the portals were happening, because it's almost like you walk into a room and everybody's super happy and you can feel the excitement in the room. Or you walk into a room, maybe there's at some, and it's very sad and you feel that, but you can't classify those feelings as, oh yeah, this is this and this is that. You just understand what they mean. Well, that's how opening a portal felt like. So that's where I basically I took that feeling and I basically projected it, and I was successful. So what I said in the daydream state is, I go, maybe I can duplicate that kind of feeling, that state of mind that I'm in. And the state of mind that I was in was as close as I can get to is the hypnagogic state. It's the state between waking and dreaming life. And that's the state closest to what I can guesstimate is where I'm at. At that point, I decided I was going to find out what's behind, because what's happening is you've got a daydream right here. Okay. It's close to you, but your subconscious is going farther in. So what's happening is you're being trying to think of the word, entertained by the daydream state. You're riding your bike, or you're at the park with your family. That's what's going on in the daydream. Your subconscious is going farther in. What's it doing? So I realized there was something happening. I realized at one point, after months of trying, that there was communication going on between my subconscious and someone. And it wasn't the same someone every time. It was a situation. So I spent probably a year over and over and over trying to break through. Then I finally was able to attach my consciousness. My consciousness would follow my subconsciousness past the daydream into what was really happening. And then when it starts to come back, when the state is over, then it was like bringing a hard drive through a magnetic field. All the data, all the memories that everything that I had just experienced was erased. So that I only knew that this event happened, but I didn't know the specifics. So as I kept piercing through the veil, I eventually found out that the subconsciousness, when you're in your daydream state or you drift off for a moment, it's going to alternate realities, alternate us, alternate experiences that we're probably duplicating different lives. Because when I'm in that state, I could be sitting at a table with somebody that looks like a human in a village, and they're talking to me as if we know each other. And I usually happen to get there about the middle of the conversation, and then I leave. And I'm like, this is not groundbreaking information. This is general conversation that I would have with somebody that I knew, or somebody that, that was around me. So I'm going in and out of these situations, just trying to figure out what's going on. Why am I doing this? And it's never to the same being. And then I began to discover I could also, when I try to, not just daydreaming, I can connect with other dimensions. So I'm going outside of the astral, outside of the mental planes, to the alternate states of reality or the alternate realities and different dimensions. And when I go there, I experience things as either someone else through their body, or I experience it as a third party, as I am, as if I go there myself. Now, what's happening is we all do this. We all do it all the time. Anytime you have a moment where you're in the zone, you're typing, or you're reading a book, or you just happen to, drift off for a moment when you're driving, your subconsciousness is traveling, and it utilizes portals. Portals are the way it travels. It's opening in space-time. It travels there and it comes back. It's like autonomous. It's doing this. It's going here, here, here all the time. It's happening. Anytime you have a lapse of consciousness, anytime you have a drift off, these are happening all the time. But what's happening is, and I also discovered is, I am battling my subconsciousness. My subconsciousness is piercing the veil, getting over there and coming back and feeding me the same junk, filtered junk from that experience as I get from my dream state. So what's happening is, if we experience dreams every night, just about. Okay, so what's happening is your astral body is in the astral already, but it goes out, projects. Your consciousness is there, and your subconsciousness goes with the astral body. Your consciousness is back here with you, and when it return, it's just sending all back this filtered information, telling you what happened. But it has nothing to do with what really happened out in the astral, because it doesn't want you to know that. And the same thing is happening when you're in the daydream state. You're getting all this junk that means nothing, but your subconscious is out there doing another job, and it comes back. So it didn't take me long to realize the subconsciousness is not on our side. And I also spent a lot of time comparing, like when people go to maybe a past life therapist. They go to a past life therapist. And one, for example, that I watched on YouTube quite a bit, and I even read some of her books to try to get some of the basis of it. But she would go and she'd been doing it for decades, writing books about it. And she would go to people, and maybe one would be Albert Einstein was one of their personalities, or Jesus, or whatever. And she realized that one of her subjects couldn't do it anymore, and she wanted to keep talking to, I think, Albert Einstein. So she went to a completely different subject. And that Albert Einstein came right back through. And she went to a third and a fourth. And that same personality kept going through. And it's like, okay, well, there's the constant. Basically, what's happening is all these personalities are feeding you garbage. It's all based on the subconsciousness. The subconsciousness is just not us. It's all part of one system. And it basically overlooks and filters everything to us. But it's connected to each one of us. But if you go and do hypnosis on another person, it's going to feed back that same information, because it's coming from basically the hive system. So we have three bodies. We have a physical body, we have a spirit body, and we have a soul. And each one of them is on their own plane. Spirit body's on the astral plane, soul's on the mental planes, and then, of course, the physical body's on the three-dimensional plane. Then overseeing and connected to those is the subconscious. But the subconscious is like a tether to all of them. So what's happening is, we are consciousness. I move my consciousness into my spirit body, I astral travel. If I move my consciousness to my soul, I travel on the mental planes. Wherever my consciousness resides will consciously animate that body. And it can only be in one place. That's why when you're on the astral planes and you're having a conscious astral projection, you can't move your body, because your consciousness is not residing in there to animate it. It's residing in the spirit body. But as soon as it returns, you can't animate your spirit body because you're in the physical. So we have a three-body system, and I call it a bondage, that also includes the subconsciousness. I call the subconsciousness the enemy from within, because we all think, oh, this is our knowledge base, and this is if we can just get that information out of the subconsciousness, it's going to free us and we're going to know everything. No, that's the thing that we're trying to fight. So we are conscious energy that has no form. We have no mass. So we're brought into this physical system, which is much lower frequency than anything else, and we're blocked from our source, and we're insulated from our source, and we're insulated from a lot of what's happening. And I tell people what we are is we are energy, we are suns surrounded by a blackness that feeds off of our energy. Mm-hmm. So I'm experiencing all this, and I'm documenting everything as I go along this path. Eventually, I got to a point where I'm like, there's got to be some meaning behind it. Because when I go to these different places, to these different dimensions, the information I get from them is not groundbreaking. They want me to pretty much follow them under their wing, and they're going to teach me. They're not going to teach me anything that I don't pretty much already know, or that's going to really benefit me, because they're not going to tell you our current situation. They're only going to do is, because every being everywhere, no matter if they're in the astral or other dimensions, they all have their own agenda. At first, when you show up there, like you said, hey, we're going to show you this and all that. As soon as you start asking questions, oh boy, they don't want nothing to do with you, because you're questioning your reality. You're questioning their reality. Because when I go there, I know for a fact, you can't take things for granted when you're there. You think, okay, well, yeah, this looks like an angel, and this looks like heaven, and this looks like a real cool place. Everything you see when you're not in the physical is manipulated. It's an illusion. They can create their own image, and they can create the background that you see. And most of the time, they show you what you want to see, because we live in a fishbowl, or universe. Our universe is ether-based, and ether is an intelligent energy. Therefore, the subconsciousness and everything that we do, think, say, or whatever is recorded within this etherical database. Subconsciousness is connected to it, and all the beings on the astral. So when people die or whatever, you show up there, and they're going to show you. They know your emotions. They know your feelings. Yes, they know everything about you. And what they're going to do is they're going to show you everything you want to see, and they're going to convince you that they are here for you. You might see your mom, your grandma, your children, whatever. You're going to see whatever you want to see.
Jesus Christ, Allah, it depends.
They play you like a guitar. Yeah. They play you. They know you better than you'll ever know yourself. So what's happening is the astral is the source of manipulation, and Earth is their agenda. They play it on both sides. So if Earth is the prison, then the astral will be considered the prison yard. Because what's happening with us is, and we've always been told, and I even bought into this when I was younger. I bought into all this, the metaphysical feeling. We are all one. And Earth is just a learning playground. And when you go in, you go into heaven, there's going to be angels, and everybody's going to be nice to you, and everything's going to be great. Well, yeah, you catch more flies with honey than you do with salt. If you want people to go along with the agenda, you're going to convince them it's all peaches and cream up there. When you leave here, this is great. You want everybody to want to come there, and you want to go back through the recycling process, because you're going to make Earth better. You're going to, stop all the wars, whatever. But in reality, if we look at things the way Earth really is in our lives, why do we have all these wars? Why do we have all this conflict? Why all these missing children? How come all this hate? Well, it's being perpetrated. It's being pushed on us. Because why? We're energy sources. Why would they do that to us? Because they're feeding off of us. Every time we feel hate, we feel despair, we feel depression, we feel anguish, we feel all these things because we emit this energy. That's the energy that they absorb. So the blackness is surrounding us, creating this whole fishbowl experience to get us to create more energy for their consumption. And what's happening is they want us to be manipulated to the point where we believe that it's going to get better. There's always going to be a savior. There's always going to be somebody, the aliens are going to come down and they're going to save us. Because Earth's so bad right now, the aliens will come down and save us, and they're going to fix all the oceans and clean up everything, and they're going to get rid of all the bad guys. They're putting everybody in jail, and then Earth is going to be a happy place. Because if you're convinced that somebody's going to save us, well, then you won't do anything about it. So if you just sit by and watch it, thinking, well, I know somebody's going to save me, then I won't do anything about it. And that's the situation we're in. You've been hoodwinked. We've all been done it, because I bought into the metaphysical stuff because I thought, well, that makes sense. Well, yeah, it does make sense. But if you compare to what you see right now, if we had all these great spiritual beings, why would we have all this problems and tragedy? Why wouldn't they work on trying to make it get better? Instead of saying, when you show up there, they say, well, if you really want to get a new car, we can show you how to do that. Well, how does that help the world? Why don't we, let's get rid of this. Let's find these missing children. Let's do something productive. With all the psychics and all these spirit guides we have in this world, if there was really a meaning to make things better, it would have been better a long time ago.
Yes, I agree with you. I just wanted to say a lot of stuff to talk about. When we go to this place that you're saying, I believe when we die, we never die. We're eternal beings, but when we lose this body, let's just call it that. When this body stops functioning, we become pure spiritual state. We go to the astral, I believe, and that's when they show up. They know everything. I don't have the answer, but what I feel in my heart, I go in deep inside my intuition, tells me you need to have a clean slate. Because if you're upset, as you say, in rage, if you want to fight them, I think you're setting yourself to lose the battle. When you go with a clean slate, that looks to me like the only possible solution. But give them nothing. Give them nothing. Because they're going to say, you need to come back to fix your mistakes. You did this wrong. They know everything, by the way. You think they know your thoughts. They know things no one knows about you.
Right. You can't hide anything. And that's the thing. I tell people when they say, oh, we have an answer for exiting the system. Wow, that's okay. So let me give you an example. Say, we're all stuck in a prison in a prison. And, we, as a group of people, we all get together and we decide, hey, this is how we're going to escape. And, we're going to do this and this night. And they get the plans and they're going to say, well, no, that's not going to happen. Okay, so they already know what you know. So how are you going to make this plan to get out? Because the hole will be plugged before you even do it. And if it was easy, then none of us would be here in the first place. So what I came up with, and I said, you know what? Getting 5 people out or 10 people or 100 people out of 8 billion doesn't seem like it would be worth it. Because even if you were able to get out, it's not going to happen again because somebody will figure that plan out. And before that even happens, they're already going to know what it is. So it just doesn't work that way. So my thought processes was, okay, where's the best place to hack into a computer system? That will be from inside of the system. Okay, that's where we lie. So the easiest way to disrupt the system would be from the inside where we are. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, how does the system affect us? The system affects us through manipulation. And usually it's through manipulation when you're sleeping, manipulation when you're awake. So how does it manipulate us? How are we being manipulated? Through drama. And through what it's doing is, okay, so if it's feeding off our emotions and our feelings, then the first thing we need to do is get in control of our feelings and emotions. Because and people don't realize this, if someone says something to you that upsets you, they're going to trigger you. What does that mean? That means that other person, you just let that other person control you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the first thing. So if another person can control you, so can the news, so can, all this thing is happening because they know the more wars they put on there, everything, the economy's going bad, everything affects you. Okay. First of all, so what you need to do is you need to divorce yourself from what I call the game of life, the game of drama. You have to get in full control of your thoughts. You have to be in control of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and your emotions, because those are physical aspects that we can be in charge of. And what happens is if you're not exhibiting things like fear and anguish and depression, then you're not feeding the system. Okay. So if enough people start changing the way they are, if everybody changes themselves, then what's happening is the frequency range that we're emitting begins to change. And when you change the frequency, you change what's happening in the system. Because what they're doing is banking on you getting upset, and because of all this bad media, all this social media, that's why you're being fed media all the time and in the dream state. So if you change that and get in control, that's the first thing we're going to have to do. And when people do that, we change the general range, the frequencies, and that's going to affect it. The other thing is, once you begin to do that, it not only changes that, but what it changes you. Okay, we all have the capacity and the ability to do things, create portals, do whatever, but we don't realize it because we're living within this small box that we've created. It's a box of our limitations. We believe we're limited because we're playing the game, because you're being controlled. If somebody can control you by saying one thing, then where does it end? You've been programmed your whole life to believe lies. You have no real good foundation of beliefs because it's built upon lies. Sometimes when you question everything, you get down to the bare bones and you might have to rebuild your foundation. But what's happening during that process is you're growing, and it's not just growing mentally, you're growing physically, you're growing spiritually. And then you'll begin to absorb more and understand more because you realize you're not this little confined box. You're way out here. And it's hard to explain how the change happens because it's not like it happens overnight or in a couple days or a month. It's a gradual change that allows you to comprehend and absorb much more. And you begin to think differently. That's the whole point. Because if you begin to understand that you can do so much more, then you begin to erase a lot of the limitations you put upon yourself. It's not the limitations generally they put on us, because if I can bust through the veil through repetition, that means their system's not that well. It's not that good. And if you think if you're going to die and then go to this place or whatever, and then they can't manipulate you, what they'll do is, and I'll give you a good example. So if you're in a dream, and it happens to me too, you're in a dream and say there's somebody that you don't like and you would never let them in your home or around your family, whatever. Okay. In the dream, they will walk into your home and you'll sit there and you won't say a word because that's their way of showing you we can manipulate you in many ways. And this is how we can do it. And I've met many of them through the astral, through the dream state, and don't underestimate them. They are masters at manipulation. There are so many ways. They understand us psychologically far beyond. They're light years beyond our understanding in this state. Now, if we had all of our capacity available, they're not. But that's why we're dumbed down. If we were docile creatures without claws or teeth, they would just come in and mow us over and do whatever they wanted to do. But they know that if the gig is up, then we have the potential to find ourselves and to get out of this trap. And that's why I tell people, it's not just about what you know. If we want to get out of this, we got to do this together. It's all about working together. And if you want to help others, you start on yourself. Because if I'm improving myself, I'm helping you. If you improve yourself, you're helping everyone else. So the reason why I'm helping you is so that we can all have a better chance. Because whether or not we want to plan on when you die, you got to deal with this. But if we can change it now in the physical, because we got to still live here for, 20, 30, 50 more years. We got to be here every day. And it might be almost impossible once you get to that point to try to get out. But why wait? Let's do it now. Let's make the change now. Because if we don't change it here, because they say what's above is also down below. But since we're in the system, let's change it from the inside. Because the last thing they want us to know is how things really work. I've seen the infrastructure. I've seen the dark beings. I've seen a lot of what goes on here. And the first thing they don't want you to know is that you have control. I think that's their biggest fear. And once enough people begin to realize it and realize what we have the ability to do, it won't take a lot of us. But once we do that, then things will change to our advantage. Why don't we run the planet? Why don't we control it? That's my whole plan, because it's great to think that down the line you want to do that, but you got to be here every single day. And we see the state of what's going on. And everybody here that's listening does a job. Everybody who's not listening does a job. We run the world. Without our services and our labor and our intelligence, this world would not run. There's only a small few at the top that tell us what to do. But if we stand up and say, hey, that's not right, I'm not going to do it, because there's too many people that will bow down to either intimidation or manipulation, or because, hey, I need a paycheck, I got to do it. But you have to look at what you're doing. You know, if you're doing something that's against your values, then it's time to stop. Because everybody has to contribute to our own demise. And if we don't contribute, then things stop. So that's on a physical level. But on a spiritual level, and I say spirituality is basically another name for freedom. So if we work on the physical level as well as the spiritual level and better ourselves, then we begin to make changes. But once you begin to understand your potential, it's all over. And that's the reality of the situation. I can't even explain it to you. There's no words. A lot of the things that I've experienced, I put into words, 26 letters rearranged into sentences and words and paragraphs, but they don't portray what the reality of the situation is. They don't. The same when I tell you about this. You don't know what you haven't experienced, and you can't unexperience the things that you have.
Yes, I agree with you, Mike, that a lot of these things are beyond explanation. They are very difficult to put in words. And by the way, I have an outro on all videos. It's going to go out on this video. It's only 2 minutes. But I share many of the things for months. Many of the things you say, I totally resonate with you. I totally attach to your idea. And I start, first of all, discovering who you are. That for me, it's going inside, basically. It's going to discover that, as you say, you are a spirit, a soul, a body that makes you a human, all those things tied together. But you're basically a spirit, I think. And you're a spirit having this experience, this physical, three-dimensional experience. And I also say all your limits are self-imposed. And I remember right now this episode is going to be my episode like 380 something. Episode 3 is called All Your Limits Are Self-Imposed. Episode 1 is you, the discovery of you, the discovery of your inner self, your real self. And this episode 3, I remember a gentleman that emailed me and said, you're stupid. I mean, if I go into a building and jump, I'm going to die. So how are all my limits self-imposed? And I said, you have to go beyond that. That's, of course, the physicality of this world, which, by the way, you will have to believe me, but you can fly. You can travel through time. You can travel through dimensions like you have shared. You can do things that cannot be put in words, that cannot be explained, that they will seem like miracles. But you have to understand that your limits that you put in yourself is exactly because you become this small thing that's what they want you to believe you are, so they keep you controlled. And then I go by saying, rage, fear, envy, hate, violence, justice through violence, all of these things, they only operate in your mind. They only make you believe you're that. But in reality, they don't serve you. They serve others, okay? And they want us to be in this state through the media, through the programming, through even the education system, okay? Because if you go to the education system, they make you fearful of everything. They make you to believe you're in this competition, that you have to go out and basically go stample others because, you're in this race that you don't even understand what you are doing, but you have to go on this race to make a lot of money, to go to university, to get a career, and then inside the career to become a manager, to become a director, or to put a business and be successful. And successful, I put air quotes, what is having a lot of power, having a lot of money for them. So they put us in this race that a lot of people don't even understand what they're racing for, all with a purpose, as you say, to keep us controlled. And because we exert an energy when we're suffering, they feed off that, okay? I know it's very sad, very dark. I believe the word I've heard, there are different words, but I heard lush or some kind of other energy that we put out when we're upset, when we're enraged, when we fight each other. Even inside families, they like for families to argue. They like for families to be upset within each other. They like everyone to hate each other. Like they want you to believe that your brother and sister out there in the street is separated from you and you have to hate them and fear them and everything else. Because again, that's their system. That's how they keep us controlled. That's why I go back that at this time, I believe the only possible solution is don't give them that. Don't fear, don't hate, don't feel the need for violence. Don't do any of that. And you're, as you say, you are not playing the system. You're not playing the game. And again, they pressure us. I have to understand, Mike. Let's try to be understanding of people that they have told me, hey, you sell a nice thing, but how about my bills? How I'm gonna send my kids to school? How I'm gonna pay for food? How I'm gonna pay for electricity? They have this system of scarcity in place that, in a way, you haven't solved the money part. It's very difficult, okay, for anyone not to be. And I felt it. With all my everything. When there's a bill to pay, when I have to pay my children's school, and you want to give them everything, so you have them in private schools. So, and it becomes, right now with inflation, very expensive. That's when I know, hey, these guys, they're chess players. They're really experts at pushing our buttons. But I'm gonna be concerned of the money. But one thing I change is, if I have a bill I need to pay next week, I'm really gonna be stressed on the day of the bill. I'm not gonna give them from today that we are stressed of the future and what I'm gonna do when I retire, when that's gonna happen, when that's gonna happen. Live for today, live in the moment, live the present, because reality is the past is a memory and the future is the future, okay? That's how I believe you even said it with Jeff, that that time maybe doesn't exist because we live the moment, we live the today. I don't know if tomorrow is coming, so that doesn't exist. And the past is a memory, okay? It's really not there anymore, okay? So we live for today, and when you start living every day, you start living with peace, even with financial pressures, even with medical concerns, because those are the things, they make us suffer a lot, exactly trying to keep us controlled and in this, game. Mike, we have gone for around an hour, so I was wondering if you had anything in closing for us.
Well, I want to say,
sorry. Well, before I give it back to you, I want to share that all the information, because Mike has published books. Is that right? If you want to tell us a little bit about that, your YouTube channel, I believe you also have a website. Everything you share with me is going to be down there on the video description, direct links to the books and everything. Thank you, Mike. Sorry about that. Just wanted to say it.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, My Dark Explorations, where I post videos and copies of interviews that I've done in the past. I also have a Rumble channel, where it's called My Dark Explorations as well. I make a lot of videos, try to keep people updated and clarify some things. I have a book on Amazon. One's called My Dark Explorations and Portals, Astral and Glimpses. I have another one called The Spiritualist Manifesto, A Guide to Freedom, and another book called Leaving the Illusion of Life. And we live in a manipulated, deceitful world, and on purpose. And when I say they're masters of manipulation, it's beyond our understanding, because in any way they can, they manipulate you by different pressures within your life. The more you have, the more they can control you. And that's the way things work, because, whether it's a vehicle problem or something with your house or whatever, there's always points for them to focus on to get you under control. It's always going to be that way. So you think you're struggling now, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're still going to be in that same point of struggle. Well, if you get a little bit better financially off, then you're going to have probably personal problems or health problems. They're always going to keep that pressure somewhere. You're never going to get out of this game unless you get out of this game. And no matter what you're going to do, even if you're pressured a little bit more, it's always going to be there. You're not going to step out of this unless we make the change to get ourselves out of this problem. It's not going to work. We have to work and do it for ourselves. Nobody's going to do it. And the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get, because it's just the fog is coming in on us. And eventually it's going to get so dense that you won't be able to see anything and you won't be able to control anything. And I believe that's where we're headed. And I don't believe it's that far away. And that's one of the reasons why I'm coming out here to try to put things together and help people out. I'm not a guru. Don't depend on me. Don't depend on anybody else. You need to depend on yourself. It's all about you. Like I said, by helping you, you help me and you help everybody else. It's all about us helping each other out, because we want to all get out of the situation. I don't want to just get myself out. I want everybody to get out. And I want to help everybody to learn the way that they can better free themselves from what's going on, because it's all about independence. You don't want to be dependent, and you don't want to live in that little box that's been created for you.
Yes, I agree completely. The only person you can change is you. I believe that. And what we do here is trying to give you a little curiosity, a little spark, a little, maybe even guidance, but not even that. I mean, you have to really traverse the road. You have to put in the work, because some of these things are a little bit of work. Yes. I remember when I started my channel, I said, talk to yourself for 5 minutes. Okay. Be at peace for 5 minutes. And a couple of people share with me through email saying, come on, 5 minutes, that's too much. Can I do it in a minute? Can I do it in 30 seconds? I mean, we watch series, we watch football games for 3 hours. We do other stuff. We walk to a rock concert for 4 hours, but we cannot try to invest a little 5 minutes in trying to be in this state, in this, what I call center state, not necessarily like Buddhist Zen state, but just try to be at peace, to try to uncover your inner self. Believe me, there's something there. You're going to find it. It's not really difficult, and the process is different for everyone, I believe. I mean, you had an amazing experience, and I think you put in a lot of work, Mike. You put in a lot of work trying to decipher what was going on. For me, honestly, it was more intuitive, which is just a different way. I maybe didn't realize it or something like that. I'm not saying one is better than the other. You certainly, I can tell you put in a lot of work in trying to, in getting to this state you are. So for everyone, it's going to be different. For some, it comes very naturally. I think there's some tools there that are really already developed inside you, that when you tap into them, they're quite amazing. So what I say to everyone, Mike, is try to change your life today. I mean, if you feel what you're saying, this small, really, you're all the pressure, like, stop. I see you like from your background, you probably like Star Wars. Or remember that on the first movie that they were in the compactor, and they put a beam in there trying to, they were not going to stop them, but that is crushing them. That's what I believe most of humanity is, with the bills, with the pressures, as you say. And if you have a lot of money, then you have, some people are in depression. Some people are afraid they're going to lose their money. Some people have medical issues. Some people have social issues. Maybe for them, the problem, people don't like me. People don't talk to me. They have a lot of money, but they don't have any friends. So we're always in this compactor. And when you start realizing, okay, that you're in control, as you say, that you are so powerful, that you're this amazing being, this beautiful spiritual being having an experience, even these pressures, they kind of become manageable. Okay. Thank you, Mike. I really enjoy our talk. I hope to have you back, if that's okay with you, in the future. And and thank you very much. Thank you very much. And by the way, everything on Mike, his books, his website, his channel, is going to be out there on the video description for you just to click on it. All right. Thank you, Mike.
If we can put in over an hour right now, then people can put in 5 minutes a day.
I know, Mike, but
yeah, I mean, you have to put it in perspective for people sometimes, you know. Yeah. I mean, we spend a lot of time creating content to help people out. I mean, this is our purpose behind it, you know. Our purpose, we spend a lot of time that people don't get to see, but we're doing it for the benefit of us all. It's for us and everybody else. And that's the whole thing. We're helping each other out. And we put in a lot of time, and we have the drive, and people need to sometimes refocus what's important in your life. I mean, if you get to the point where you don't have anything because everything gets taken away from you, what did it mean while you had it? Now you want to work on it, but it's too late at that point. Once they take everything away from you, it's too late.
Exactly. I agree with you. I agree. It's I know it's maybe subject for another day, but you know, people like to do fun stuff and that. And I say it's fun.
Oh yeah, everybody does. And we all do. You can still balance your life. You just have to do it in modesty, like anything else. Nobody wants to go on a strict diet. Do it a little at a time.
Exactly. I agree with you. Yes, that's a great suggestion. You can change your life today. I agree with that. Doesn't matter what you have done. Doesn't matter where you are listening. You can change your life today. Thank you very much, Mike. Have a great time. Thank you.
Too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for making it to this part of the video. This is my favorite part. This is where I suggest to you that you discover your true self. You are not what you have been groomed to believe. You are this incredible being without limits that has eternal life, amazing strength, infinite wisdom, and a big, beautiful heart. All your limits are always self-imposed. Your best version in this reality is inside you. Your only mission on this life is to become a beacon of love and to serve others. This version is ready to be discovered today. How do you discover your true self? The discovery process is a personal one. No one can do it for you. Dedicate 5 minutes a day to talk to the universe. Simply ask, who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? You will start getting signs, breadcrumbs, and signals. You will notice how your notions about this reality start disappearing. No more hierarchies, no more competition, no more complaining, no more depending on others. Discovering your true self equals to real freedom. Your self-imposed limits will fall and you will be ready to understand this reality, but you must be patient to allow others to wake up at their time through their own free will. That will be really soon, you will see, and that will set up a new world. As you work towards your best version, you will notice how all emotions don't serve you anymore. Hate, fear, rage, pride, lust, envy, violence, justice through violence, judgment of others, and other emotions will disappear from your mind and heart. You will understand those emotions serve only your egoic mind and are not you. Please try to be understanding of others that don't think or feel like you. Everyone has a process. No one is right or wrong. We're all just different. Don't be concerned about being right, ever. Don't allow pride preventing you from patching things up with family and friends. It is very important you enjoy this life with your loved ones. Put in the work to patch things up and leave it to others to decide. Thank you very much for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe. If you have any comments or suggestions, please use the comment section below. For private questions, conversations, and if you would like to appear on the show, please email me at hey@thealexshow.tv. Thank you again. Please don't forget to visit our website, www.thealexshow.tv. By giving me your time, you honor me. Have a very, very, very nice day.